What's going on, everybody? This is Nick from House of Paint 203, bringing you the third and final part of the Planetar series. Planetar is almost ready to rock and roll. We are going to be tackling his wings, his sword, and his base today. So it's going to be a lot of tedious work, but all worth it in the long run to bring this large celestial powerhouse to life. Let's jump right in. As always, just want to give a special shout out to friend of the show, Dominic Marriott, owner and founder of Credit UK, all the way across the pond in the UK. Dominic is a crafter of dice trays, dice vaults, dice boxes, dice towers, you name it, Dominic makes it. You should check out his stuff so you can up your game at your gaming table today. Also, while you're here, be sure to smite like and slam subscribe so that you can stay up to date on all of the new content that I am bringing to you. And as always, I thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. We're going to get in here on these wings. So before I began the project, I went over these wings in a thin layer of gray primer. And I'm going to base coat these wings in a mixture of heavy blue gray from Vallejo Game Color. It's an extra opaque, and bone white also from Vallejo Game Color. And the mix for this is going to be about 50-50. I don't want to go too dark on the base because, again, these are angel wings, and if you look at the source material on the box, the wings are almost like boldly white. So I'd like to stay true to that. I'm gonna start off on the back just to make sure I am cool with the base coat, the base color. And I do like that. I wanted something lighter than the primer for sure, because eventually I'm going to be bringing these out I'm going to be bringing these up to almost a pure white, and actually pure white in certain areas. So I do want some contrast, but certainly subtle contrast. I'm gonna go in here now with some pure bone white. I'm gonna look to catch, just gonna look to catch the edges here, or not the edges, but like most of the. This is going to be kind of a tedious process, so. Bring it up to the miniature. Let's see what we got so far. I want to try a little experiment. If it works out, great. If not, well then, it doesn't. I think I'm gonna go for it. So here I'm taking black wash and putting it between the folds of the feathers, hoping that can create some added depth. And so basically what I've done is just I've put black wash systematically in between the folds of the wings here, in hopes to create a little bit more, the illusion of more depth. So we're gonna see, hopefully that does the trick. I'm gonna choose the effect that I'm looking for. Try it out over here, hopefully. Now I'm going in and applying the white. I mean, I guess it's not completely horrible, but we'll see. So I'm doing a dry brush on the downy parts here with the Lawful White. All right, I let the dry brush inform where my main highlight should go. So now I'm going over that dry brush with an applied highlight of the Lawful White to bring out the angel wings once and for all. So I'm running over this area with the side of my brush just to catch the raised areas, similar to how you would a dry brush, only it's with wet paint as opposed to dry paint residue, and you can see the effect it's getting here. Oh, that's drying. I think I'm gonna go in on the back of the wings with just a dry brush with Lawful White. Maybe a little overbrush. Not as concerned about the... Not that I'm not as concerned about the back, but I'm actually good with having the dry brush here because the back is actually shielded from the light source, so and that it would be darker. All right, now that the wings are completed, I'm gonna go in on the sword. It actually looks like on this particular model, a piece of the sword broke off. Sometimes that can happen. I didn't see it in the box, but that's okay. You know, we'll make it work. So on the sword, I'm gonna base the blade in gunmetal, which is a Vallejo model color. For the hilt, I'm going to base it with Gehenna's Gold, and for the leathery portion of the handle, I'm going to be using heavy sienna. Alright, now that the blade is base coated, I'm going to be going in with Gehenna's Gold on the hilt. Get any on his hands. Alright, now that we have that, we're gonna go in with a base coat on the handle. Alright, while we are waiting for the Gehenna's Gold to dry, I'm actually going to be going in on the sword and trying to bring out those crevices with Nuln Oil, which is a shade by Citadel. There are definitely crevices in the blade, which is where I want this to kind of pool. So I'm gonna feather that in there. I also want to try to put some going up like this and down up here on the opposite side to try and create a little shading. But now we wait. All right, so I'm gonna get back up on this sword with some more Nuln Oil. I wanted to catch kind of right down in this area and right up in on this side here, especially. All right, and while that's drying, I really want to keep him propped up like that. So I think I'm actually going to use my Nuln Oil to, no, that failed miserably. I think I'm actually going to use the Nuln Oil to kind of put him upright and keep that sword where I want it so that it doesn't, so that the wash doesn't actually start swimming all over the place. So I'll move him over there. And I will bring up his base. I'm actually going to be doing a couple different things on the base here. So I pop the base on my Citadel holder here, and I think what I'm going to do first is, prime it. I'm going to give it a quick coat of primer. And I'm just going to use gray primer because I have it. All right, while the primer is drying, I'm going to go back in on the Nuln Oil, which is now dry. I'm going to do that one more time. Going up, now moving down. Set it off to the side, make sure you have something to prop him up so that his sword stays flat like that. All right, so the primer is dry, and now there are two parts to the base that I really want to get to. There is a part of the base that I want to paint as dirt, and there's a part of the base that I want to paint as rock. So obviously the raised areas on the base are going to be stones, and the flattened areas I want to paint as dirt. So for a base coat on the dirt, I'm going to be going with Beastie Brown by Vallejo Game Color. And then I'm going to be giving it a wash so I can pick out these recesses here and darken it up. I'll be going in and picking out the stones that I want. let that dry, revisit Planetar, kind of multitasking here. Check out that sword. And on the sword, I'm gonna go in here. Now you might notice me switching to a different paper anytime I use my metals, because I'm going to be going in on it with a highlight here of Silver by Vallejo Game Color. I'm using a wet palette off to the side, and metals are not colors that you want to use on a wet palette, because metallic colors can sometimes ruin your wet palette. I got my silver, I'm thinning it out a little bit, and then on the opposite side of the sword, I'm actually going to be running it down. On the opposite sides of where I placed the Nuln Oil. With the side of my brush all the way up the center curve of the blade to try and bring out that raised area on the blade. All right, so we've got our base here. Let's give that a, I'm gonna give it a darker sort of base coat as far as the stones are concerned. So I'm going to be using Shadowed Stone from Master Series Paint, which is a color that I've used before. It's a gray that I've used before on the channel. I will pop that off to the side, and now we've got to get Planetar's base here, because he is standing on the same stone that is on the base, so we definitely want to get that continuity in there. Alright, we're just going to do a quick little feeler here. So he would be standing like this. I think it'll look good. Alright, we are now ready for the wash. We'll be putting using a sepia wash, Seraphim Sepia from Citadel. And we'll be using that on the dirt portion of the of the base here. Let it kind of get into these crevices a bit. I want to go back into our Planitar sword with one more pass of silver. So again, just following that path down. We want to go in on the hilt now and give that kind of an applied highlight with a little polished gold. And just touch the edges there. And again, I just wanted to catch the upper edge right there. Almost there. I'm going to take some black wash and I'm going to put that on the rocks that Planitar is standing on. To create shadow here. Go back to base and do the same thing on these stones. Continuity, keep everything consistent. Alright, the stones are now washed. Put that over here, check out Planitar. Planitar's looking good. He's not entirely dry yet. or his base is not entirely dry. So we'll just wait. All right, so it appears as though the soil is dry, rocks are just about dry, but I'm gonna go in and just touch this up with a little dry brush on the soil. I'm gonna be using khaki for that, so Planitar will be right about there. So there really isn't gonna be a whole lot of light down here, but I'm gonna try to get this area a little bit with a little bit of a dry brush. And again, I'm using khaki for this by Vallejo Model Color. So again, when you are dry brushing, you just want to get a lot on your brush, and then you want to take a paper towel, pretty much get all of it off until you're just left with the faintest amount of paint residue. You can see starting to pick out some of the upper areas. All right, we are ready to go with our dry brush. Load it up and get it all off. Last, I'm just going to go lightly. Along the upper portion of the stone and going against the grain. Now Planitar. See, that's coming out nicely right there. I'm really happy with that dry brush, actually. All right, now it's time to put them together. All right, so in order to glue him on, I'm using a MaxiCure extra thick glue for ceramics, plastics, and hardwood. It's supposed to adhere in roughly 10 to 25 seconds, it says on the bottle. And you can see it has a really nice needle-like spout where the glue comes out. So I think what I want to do first here is put the wings on, and I'm going to be very careful with this because you really only get one shot at it. So I'm going to go into his back cavity here, and you can see I didn't really worry too much about his back because it'll be covered by the wings. So I'll apply a little bit of the glue into his back cavity and apply the wings. Now I'm just going to hold them on for, you know, I mean, the bottle says 10 to 25 seconds, but I'm gonna give it a little longer than that just to really be sure. All right, and I've removed my finger. You can see the wings are already adhered, which is nice. So part one of that is done, and now I'm gonna move on to the base. I'm gonna keep the base on my stand, and glue him on like that. So for this, I'm going to put the glue in the crevice that is on the base itself. Nice and easy. And then get him on here. Just make sure he's flush with the base and then hold. As always, I thank you for joining me. This has been part 3 of the Planetar series. Be sure to smite like and slam subscribe so that you can stay up to date on everything I'm putting out there on my quest to paint the Monster Manual. This is my 8th project that I am bringing to you, and I'm really enjoying it. Making the videos really adds a little pep in my step as far as trying to get this done and bring this out there. Information on how to follow me on all my social media platforms, including my website, www.hop203.com, is immediately following the video, as is information on how to follow friend of the show, Dominic Marriott, who is the owner and founder of Critit UK. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you for the next one.